So in the previous session, we have learnt about process and its importance, and we have already understood that the processes of the organizations are very important, and business organizations need to redesign their processes or re-engineer their processes in order to make the customer satisfied. Because at the end of the day, customer satisfaction is the most important criteria. That is what we need to understand. And this 18th question, write a short notes on core or generic business process, is a self-study question. It is very easy question because several businesses will have several processes depending on their nature of their business. For example, in the case of fast-moving consumer goods business, marketing and brand management will be the major processes, core or important processes. Likewise, in insurance, settling the claims and collecting the premiums is the most important process. Likewise, in banking, mobilizing deposits, generating funds for providing loans, these are all the important processes. And IT company will have a different set of processes, pharma company will have a different set of processes, but mainly accounting processes are similar. Receivables, payments, these processes are similar in any kind of organization. But apart from that, there are some special processes that depends on the nature of the industry. IT processes will be different from pharma processes, pharma will be different from telecom. Likewise, depending on the nature of your businesses, you will have different processes. So that is the main concept in question number 18, which you can easily understand. Now let us focus on 19th question. Outline the need for business process re-engineering. That means this question tells you what is the need for business process re-engineering in the organizations. Why organizations need to redesign or re-engineer their processes. What are the reasons? What is the background? The first one is the outdated processes. See, in many organizations, the processes are designed at a very long time, and the same processes are followed. And those processes are not in a position to create value and customer satisfaction. That is what I am telling you. Processes are crucial. Operational excellence is crucial. That is the most important thing. And all the traditional processes or old processes, they are based on functional units. See, for example, to complete a process. Say, for example, a customer walked into your office and you have to do a work for him. That is a process. And that process is done by several departments in your organization. And these all departments, instead of focusing on creating the customer value and satisfying the customer in a happy way, they only focus on their part of the job. They don't focus completely on the entire job. That is called as a subsystem view. So this subsystem view is the biggest hurdle, is the biggest problem, is the biggest barrier for creating value to the customer. And the next one is time and cost. You can observe the person here waiting in a long queue and looking at the watch because he has to wait for a long time in a very long queue for his turn to come. But now if you can offer online services so that customer sits back in his office or in his home and complete the process. So the traditional processes involves a lot of time and cost. And also the traditional processes are fragmented. Fragmented means to complete a particular process, that process is broken down into different pieces and each department will handle only one piece of the job. They don't focus on the completion of the job. And also there is a lot of inefficiency. Whenever the work is fragmented and no one is focusing on the completion of the work, automatically inefficiency will be there. And today you need to make use of IT. Information and communication technology is developing a lot and you need to focus on using IT and CT, that is ICT, information and communication technology, to offer better services to the customer, to make your processes so efficient and effective so that customer feels happy. So these are the reasons of BPR in the organization. Let us go through the question and read the things one by one. The problems in traditional business processes have created the need for BPR. What are the problems? inefficiency, time and cost, fragmentation, outdated processes, subsystem view. These are all the things in the traditional business processes. And in the modern times, if your processes are taking a lot of time, lot of effort, then customer is not having the patience to hold on for the completion of the task. And your competitors or rivals may be using technology and offering better services, so then also it becomes a big problem. Okay, so the major problems in the traditional processes are, the first one, outdated processes. Most of the processes that firms follow might have been developed by their functional units over a period of time. That means a work is there and that work has to be finished. And in order to complete the work, several departments should work in a coordinated way. Okay, but when there is a lack of coordination among these departments, one department will not cooperate with the another department. And every department looks at only their portion, only their job. They are not bothered about the work and job of the other department due to lack of coordination. And ultimately what is happening? The customer is not getting satisfied because of the silos in the organization, because of the loopholes in your work. Who is ultimately getting affected? Customer is ultimately getting affected. He is not getting the service. That is the biggest problem. They might be developed based on series of unplanned decisions. There has not been any serious effort to systematically analyze the process and measure their effectiveness towards the organizational efficiency. That means the traditional processes do not focus on process effectiveness and creating satisfied customers. See, when can your organization function in an efficient way? When you satisfy your customer. But if your customer is not satisfied, all your efforts will turn into waste. That is what you need to understand. And the second important problem is subsystem view. Individual departments or divisions of a firm try to optimize their own performance without considering the effect on the other areas of operation. This is the biggest problem. I am always looking at my job. I am always looking at my part of the job. I am not having a holistic view. I am not having a comprehensive view of the process. And my target is not customer satisfaction. My target is only finishing my work. And I am not bothered about the work of the other department, and I am not bothered about the customer. So this is called as subsystem view. And whenever there is a subsystem view in your organization, that will automatically lead to suboptimal performance of the entire organization. Because many people should work together, no? Many people should work together. And there is no coordination among these people. And automatically you cannot satisfy the customer, which leads to suboptimal performance. And obviously, whenever your process is very complex and having lot of activities, lot of unnecessary activities, automatically the time and cost of doing the processes or performing the processes will be very high, both to the organization and to the customer. So existing business processes may be lengthy, means lot of unnecessary. See, today IT is available. So by using IT, you can avoid many of the steps in your process. All the documentation, copying down the things from one paper to another paper, from one book to another book, from one register to another register. These all things can be avoided if you can use IT. So that the number of steps in your process will drastically come down, and that will definitely improve the total cycle time. See, earlier in order to withdraw money from the bank, it used to take one hour. But now, within 45 seconds, by using ATMs, we could able to withdraw the money. Means there is a drastic change. There was a dramatic improvement in the process. So companies should think like this. How can we drastically and dramatically improve our business processes? And we should remove all the non-value adding, redundant, duplicate, unnecessary activities in our processes. Okay, that only then we can reduce the time and cost of executing a particular process. So, existing business processes may be lengthy, time-consuming, costly, inefficient, obsolete and irrational. Then what is the solution? Use the technology. Simplify the process. Try to develop process-oriented thinking rather than functional-oriented thinking. And the next one is fragmentation. Fragmentation of work process makes it difficult to improve the quality of work performance and also develop narrow vision among the employees. See, once the work is fragmented, means divided into pieces among the departments, each departments look at their own piece only. They don't look at the complete thing. Okay, that develops the narrow vision. I'm focused only on my part. I'm not focused on the entire work. So that creates a narrow vision. And in this way, what happens? For example, 5 departments need to work to finish up a job. And 2 departments are working very efficiently. And the remaining 3 departments, they are not working in a better way. Then, can you get the result of these 2 departments which are working efficiently? Obviously, no. Because this efficiency of these 2 departments was clouded, covered by the inefficiency of these 3 departments. And ultimately, what is happening? What is the ultimate result? Customer is not satisfied. That is the biggest problem. And inefficiency. Emerging critical issues may remain unattended by traditional management systems due to the narrow definition of tasks or roles of an individual department. See, in traditional business processes, what happens? They only focus on their work, which do not add efficiency to the entire process. They are not having holistic approach. And the role of each person is narrowly defined. I have to do only this work. I have to do only this much of work. My role is this thing only. Sir, that person did not come, can you do that? No, I will not do that work. That is not my work. My role is only this. I am restricted only to this role. So people think in this way. So ultimately the customer is not satisfied. Now, need for IT. Most of the existing work processes were developed before the advent of computers. That is the biggest problem. So you designed a process in a very efficient way before the advent of information and communication technology. But today we have a lot of softwares, online tools, internet, communication technology. So you are not using all of that. You are simply following the same age-old, obsolete, outdated processes, which are no way going to add any value to the processes that you are performing. So you have to increase the speed of normal production. You have to increase the asset turnover. You have to reduce the customer response time and increase customer satisfaction. These all things have to be done. How can you do all these things? These all things can be done if you make better use of IT in your business processes. Okay. So these all factors makes a ground for the requirement of BPR in organizations. That means organization should go for BPR. Now let us try to understand what is BPR. See, in BPR what we will do is, we will try to analyze the existing business processes, existing traditional business processes. We will try to find out the loopholes. We will try to find out the bottlenecks in the existing process, and we will try to make use of the technology, information and communication technology, and using that we will try to simplify the process by redesigning it, by re-engineering it. That is the main concept of BPR. Okay, so BPR refers to the analysis of existing process and redesign of workflows. Workflow means process, and process both within and between the business firms. See, you have to improve your processes internally, as well as you need to improve the processes with other organizations also. And here 2 important words are there. It is a total deconstruction and rethinking of a business process in its entirety, unconstrained by its existing structure and pattern. See, whatever may be the process, whatever may be the existing traditional process, we are not constrained by it. We are not limited by it. We don't think about it. But we totally deconstruct the old way of thinking. We totally stop thinking in old ways, in traditional ways, and we start to rethink in a new way. We always try to rethink of using technology and improve our process efficiency and satisfy the customer. This is the core concept of BPR. What is that? Total deconstruction of the traditional thinking and trying to rethink in a new way to increase our process efficiency and satisfy the customer. Its objective is to dramatically improve the performance. See, once upon a time, Motorola used to take 30 days to process a customer order. But in Motorola, BPR was adopted. And once they adopted BPR, there was a dramatic improvement that today they are in a position to deliver a customer order within 3 days, process a customer order in 3 days. Earlier it took 30 days. Now they could do it in 3 days. Means 27 days of unnecessary activities, process inefficiencies are removed. That is the greatness of BPR. Means BPR always thinks about drastic improvement, dramatic improvement, not incremental improvement. See, for example, if you are taking 30 days to complete a process, and by modifying the processes now, if you could do it in 25 days, that is an incremental improvement. But on the other hand, if you are taking 30 days earlier and now you are doing the same thing in 3 days, it is a dramatic improvement. Means above 80% of improvement you can observe. And it implies giving up all practices. Yes, stop everything. Total deconstruction. Stop everything what you are doing traditionally and try to redesign, re-engineer everything with the help of technology so that you get dramatic improvement in your processes, and that will ultimately lead to better customer satisfaction. And the next question talks about the objectives of BPR, the objectives of business process re-engineering. Why we need to go for business process re-engineering? Yeah, already we know. We need to improve our processes in terms of time and cost, quality, output. We need to improve all these things. When all these things are possible? Only when the processes are redesigned, re-engineered. So, the first objective is to obtain considerable gain in the performance of the process in terms of time, cost, output, quality, and responsiveness to customers. So, you should design your process in such a way that your process creates good customer satisfaction. And second one is to simplify and streamline the process. Yes, see, simplification is the modern mantra for success. You have to simplify everything. You have to simplify each and every process that is carried out in your organization. What do you mean by simplification? You just remove all unnecessary, non-value adding, redundant, duplicate steps or activities in your process and make your process so simple, easy, convenient to the customer so that customer feels happy to continue doing business with you. So eliminate all redundant, non-value adding activities and transactions. Sir, those all things are required. How can we eliminate? Yes, of course you cannot eliminate, but you can make use of technology. And instead of doing duplicating work, writing in one register, again copying it in another register and copying it in another register, making a lot of signatures, stamping, you can eliminate all these things with the help of technology. So that when you use computers and networks, the data can be easily shared, can be easily copied, so that you save a lot of time and drastically reduce the number of stages or transfer points of work. This is the biggest problem. The file has to move from one table to another table to another table, from one officer to another manager, from another manager to senior manager, and a lot of signatures have to be obtained. And the customer have to wait till the completion of this work, which is not at all a right thing in the current scenario. So you just minimize the transfer points of work. Let us make a single window system so that the work is completed at a single point rather than moving from one table to another table, one department to another department. Means you have to think in such a way how to make the work finished at an early time using single window procedures and speeding up the workflow by using IT. That is what I am telling you since the beginning. And to obtain dramatic improvement. See, in BPR, the word dramatic improvement is very important. The main objective of BPR is not to bring incremental improvement, but here we always focus our energies in bringing out dramatic improvement, above 70%, above 80% of improvement in our work processes. Earlier, if a process takes 1 hour, now it should be finished in 2 or 3 minutes. How can we do that? We should focus on that. How can we do a 1 hour work into 2 minutes, into 3 minutes, or into 5 minutes? So you need to think and you have to redesign your processes and to provide competitive advantage. See, automatically you get competitive advantage when your processes are improved and customer feels satisfied, when the customer responsive time and total cycle time of your processes have drastically come down, and when there is a lot of process improvement, automatically competitive advantage is achieved. And bring out the features of BPR. See, re-engineering begins with the fundamental rethinking. See, the most important thing in BPR is fundamental rethinking. That means you have to totally stop thinking about improving the old processes. See, improving is different, rethinking is different. Improving means already you want to continue the same thing, but trying to make some surface level or cosmetic changes and try to improve a little bit. But here in BPR, we don't do that. We make a fundamental rethinking, a radical approach we take. We go to the root of the issue. We will try to question ourselves. I told you in the previous session, the most important and powerful question that has to be asked in BPR is why. Why we are doing things like this? Why can't we do it in a better way? Why this process has to be done in this way only? Why can't it be done in another way? Why can't we use IT? Why can't we use computers? In this way, you need to think. So, why becomes the most important question? And that gives you a lot of answers to improve your process. So, this is called as fundamental rethinking. Okay? So, in re-engineering, people must ask some most basic questions about their organization and their operations, and then try to find out answers. What are they? I told you, why do we do what we do, and why do we do it the way we do? That is why I told why is the most important question. Why we are doing like this? Why we should only do like in this way only? In this way you have to question. Okay. And re-engineering does not begin with anything given or with any assumptions. See, this is the biggest problem. Once we try to improve the process, we start with some assumptions, telling that we cannot improve this process much. How can we improve? We first think about how. But no, don't think about how. Think about why. Why is more powerful than how. So, don't make any assumptions that this process cannot be improved. This process has to be done like this only. We cannot totally change the process. These are all assumptions. So, don't have any kind of assumptions. Try to think with a clean slate of mind. Just pose one question. Why? Why I have to do the process like this only? This is a radical question. This is a question which brings about a total change in your approach of thinking and will give you the capability to think in a fundamentally, basically new way. Okay. And the thinking process in re-engineering begins with a totally free state of mind without having any preconceived notions. See, these preconceived notions are the biggest problem. What are preconceived notions? We cannot improve this process anymore. It is impossible to improve the process. All these steps are essential. How can we remove these steps? These are all preconceived notions. So don't have any of them. Just try to question. Why I can't do? Why? What is stopping me to do? Why I cannot improve? So think in this way. This is called radical approach. And re-engineering involves, radical redesigning of processes. What do you mean by the word radical? Radical means roots. See, we eat radish, no? That means we eat the roots of it. So radix or radical, okay, radix or radical means roots. So go to the roots of the problem and try to rectify the problem from the roots. That is called radical redesigning. See, there are two types of redesigning. You can redesign a process at the surface level and do some patchwork. That patchwork will not give you dramatic improvement. But here we want dramatic improvement. 80% above improvement in our process. So that dramatic improvement can be done only once you radically redesign your process. Once you go to the root of the problem and redesign your process. So radical redesigning means going to the root of the problem areas and not attempting to make any superficial changes. Superficial means surface level, some small minor changes you make and get some 5% or 10% improvement. No, that is not BPR. BPR is going to the root of the problem and trying to redesign from the scratch and obtain dramatic improvement. Okay. So radical redesign involves completely discarding all the existing structures. That is total deconstruction and coming out with new ways of doing the work. And you should remember, re-engineering is about business reinvention, not business improvement, business enhancement or business modification. That means re-engineering your business processes means not modifying the existing ones, not making some superficial changes and enhancing it and not improving. But what it is? It is totally deconstructing, totally cutting off the existing things and try to reinvent the wheel from the scratch. Try to do everything afresh. Try to do everything new. That is what is re-engineering. And re-engineering aims at achieving dramatic improvement in performance. See, obviously, when you do the first two things, re-engineering, what are the first two things? Fundamental rethinking and radical redesigning of the processes, automatically you will get the dramatic improvement. So re-engineering is meant for replacement of old process by altogether new process to achieve dramatic improvement. And I told you what is dramatic improvement. Improvement more than 80% in the process efficiency and performance. Okay. Now, what are the steps that are involved to implement a BPR in the organization? See, first what you have to do? First, you need to understand why I should go for BPR in my organization. What benefits I am expecting out of business process re-engineering. One serious warning I wanted to tell you here. That is, BPR is a very costly affair. Very, very costly affair. Without having proper understanding about the objectives and the benefits that you get by implementing BPR, if you attempt for BPR in your organization, there will be a lot of problems. Because BPR is a very costly affair. It is an expensive affair. Because we are telling, no, you have to totally stop the old ways of doing things and you have to reinvent the wheel and you have to design everything from the scratch, from the root level, that is radical redesign. So these all things involve lot of expenses and you have to spend lot of money on computers, networks, information and communication technology. Because without the help of computers, networks, business process automation, without all these things, you cannot derive process improvement. So it is a very expensive affair, very costly affair. So first of all, you need to determine the objectives of BPR. Only then, once you get a better understanding, you should move forward to redesign your processes. And one more thing I wanted to tell you. In EIS, you will study about BPA, Business Process Automation. So this business process automation also comes under BPR. So this BPR, BPA, these all things come under BPM, Business Process Management. Business Process Management is the actual concept. And BPR is business process re-engineering. And business process re-engineering happens with the help of BPA, what you are learning in the subject of EIS. So that's why you should not separate the subjects of EIS and SM, telling that EIS is a technical subject, computer related subject, BPR, this SM is a management subject. No. Here, in order to implement the strategy and increase the process efficiency of our organization and to get the competitive advantage, we definitely take the help of technology to improve our processes. So that is a relation between the subjects. That is why we generally say this EIS subject is a very good enabler. It will enable you to carry out your strategies in a better way and get the competitive advantage. So that is a relationship between EIS and SM. Okay. So when you are attempting to go for BPR, the first thing you have to do is determine the objectives, and the second thing is you have to identify the customers and you have to know their requirements, their expectations, their tastes and preferences. These all things you have to understand, because you should not redesign your processes basing on your own tastes and preferences, but you should do it according to the tastes and preferences of the users or customers. And you have to study the existing process, and basing on that you have to redesign the process and you have to implement it. These are the 5 steps in the BPR. Let's study step by step. First one, determining objectives and framework. You know what is an objective? Objective is the desired end result, what you want to achieve. And once you set your objective, then you will have all the required focus, direction and motivation to redesign your process. If there is no objective, we are left in darkness and we don't know the approach, the direction. So objective fixation is the most important thing, and it is the comprehensive foundation for the BPR process. Setting the objective, right kind of objective for your process improvement is the first step. And second one, identify the customers and determine their needs, because each and every process that you do or that you perform should definitely add value to the customer. Otherwise, it is of no use. So what things you need to find out regarding the customers? First, you need to find out your customers and the groups of your customers, and what are their expectations, what are the services they are expecting from you, what are the problems they are facing with the current processes and products, what are their buying habits and tendencies, what is their profile, how they are getting your service, how they are using the products. These all things you should know about the customers. And also you should study your existing business processes, and this is the most important thing. Until and unless you study the existing process, you cannot understand the loopholes, the bottlenecks in the existing process. So for that reason, you have to thoroughly analyze the existing process, and later you need to formulate a redesigned process plan, and this is the most important thing. This is the real crux of BPR, because in the first 3 steps, you have just determined your objective, you have tried to know about your customer, and you have studied the existing process. But redesigning did not happen. So in the 4th step, the redesigning process is happening, and this is the most important thing, the real crux of BPR. Okay, so you have to take the existing processes, study them, take that analysis and try to redesign your process. And all your processes should be redesigned in a customer focused way. That is the most important thing. And several alternatives will be there, and you need to select the best alternative to implement. And implementation of the redesigned process and application of other knowledge gained from previous steps is very important to get the dramatic improvement. So once you redesign a plan, you need to start to implement that particular plan. And do you think that it is only the responsibility of a certain section of people to implement? No. BPR designers will be there. BPR consultants will be there. If you don't know how to redesign the process, you have to appoint BPR consultants. See, companies like Boston Consulting Group, Deloitte, ADL, McKinsey, Ernst & Young, these all companies, they offer BPR services. So you should engage some consultant so that they will redesign the process, So your company and the consultants should work together to make the processes work for your company and get the competitive advantage. Okay, so this is the process of implementing a BPR in the organization. Now, what is the rationale of BPR? This is a tricky question. What is the rationale of BPR? That means, what is the logic behind implementation of BPR? Why BPR is required? Why you are insisting to improve the business processes? What is the necessity? Right now, what is the necessity? What is the logic? Why we should go for BPR? This is what the question is, the rationale of BPR. The rationale is, the logic is, today latest technology is available, and if you don't use that latest technology and improve your business process, your rivals will do, and automatically customers will switch from your company to your rivals. And second one, in order to face the competition, you should definitely reorganize and re-engineer your processes. And today customers are also becoming more demanding. They are demanding right time, right delivery, right cost, right price, right quality. They are demanding many things. And if you carry out your organization with the traditional processes, it is not possible to satisfy the demanding customers with the right quality at the right time at the right place. So these are the three reasons why BPR is very much essential in a particular organization. So the first one is, improving business process is very important to stay competitive in today's marketplace. Yes, there is no other option. There is no other option for us except to improve our business processes to remain competitive and get competitive advantage. So the first reason is the availability of latest technology, especially internet, computer networks, intranets. These all things are there. So you need to use those technology and you should try to achieve dramatic improvement in your performance. And increased competition. You are facing cutthroat competition, overriding competition. Okay, so in order to face the competition, you have to bring about major changes in your processes to keep yourself competitive and stay in the marketplace. And the customers are also demanding, I told you. Okay, customers are demanding better products and services. If they don't receive what they want from one firm, they will switch over to other firms. That is easily understood. If you don't provide better services, customer will look for alternative and he will switch to your rival. And customers are ready to try new brands. So you need to attract the customer, you need to enjoy the customer loyalty, you need to keep the customer for yourself. So in order to do all of that, you have to redesign your processes and meet the customer expectations. But here one more thing is that it is not just enough to meet the customer expectations, but you should surprise him. That is what Mukesh Ambani always says. I always try to surprise my people, surprise my customers. How can you surprise? You should offer some services beyond his expectation. And when he gets something beyond his expectation, see, already there is an expectation of the customer. And if you offer more better services than the expectation of the customer, automatically he will be surprised. And he feels so happy, so excited, so elated, and he wants to carry out business with your particular organization. So it is not just enough to meet the customer expectations, but also to exceed the expectations and to improve the quality standards to new levels, next levels. So improving business process is very important for businesses to stay in the current economic conditions. Now, explain the role of IT in BPR, information technology in BPR. I told you, BPR is a very costly affair and BPA is a part of BPR. In order to redesign your business processes, you should try to automate the business processes. What you learnt in EAS subject, business process automation has to be done. Only then you can improve the time, cost of your processes. You can make your processes efficient, effective, innovative, so that customers like your business, like your processes. So the speed at which IT has developed during the past few years have a very large impact and transformation of business process. Yes, today business organizations have no other alternative except to adopt the technology. Try to make use of technology at each and every place possible and try to better your offerings, your product offerings as well as service offerings. And various studies have conclusively established the role of IT in transformation of business process. Yes. And during this COVID-19 situations, even in educational sector, the processes have changed. Online classes, Zoom platform, these all things have brought a drastic change in the way the business is conducted, in the way the operations are conducted. And IT is playing a significant role in the business processes. How? By adding speed, by adding accuracy, by adding efficiency. If you use computers, IT, networks, you can share the data in no time and you can offer services to the customer in a less time so that the customer responsive time will drastically increase. A re-engineered business process characterized by IT-assisted speed, accuracy, adaptability and integration of data. So what happens if you take the help of IT to your business process? These things will be there. Speed will be improved, accuracy will be improved, you can adapt yourself to the changing times and data sharing and data security also will be there. And you have to study the customer needs and you have to think how to match the technology with the customer needs to enhance the level of customer satisfaction. Next, with the help of tools of IT, organizations can modify their process to make the automatic simpler and time saving. In order to make your process simple, automatic and time saving, there is no other option except to use ICT, information and communication technology. And this IT provides the following advantages: efficiency to your processes, it will increase your productivity, effectiveness of your processes by offering everything on time, and you can offer innovative services which exceeds the expectations of the customers. Okay, so in that way we can understand that IT is a critical factor in BPR. Now, are there any problems in BPR? I told you, re-engineering is not a simple thing. It is a very expensive thing, and many organizations, if they don't know how to implement the BPR in a proper way, instead of getting advantages, they get a lot of disadvantages. So that is the reason you need to study the theory of BPR in a proper way, try to understand it, only then try to implement it. And if you don't know how to implement it, you should engage a process consultant, you should engage BPR consultants so that they will help you, they will guide you in the process improvement of your organization. See, re-engineering is a major radical improvement in the business process that already we know. Only a limited number of companies are able to have enough courage for having BPR because of the challenges posed. See, do you observe the statement? Only few companies have enough courage for BPR. Why? BPR is a costly affair, and the biggest problem is BPR is total deconstruction of the old things. And that is very dangerous, no? Because since a long time you are habituated to do things in a particular fashion. And right now these BPR people are coming and telling us, try to stop all of that. Try to deconstruct all of that. And try to do it in a new way. So adopting that is not an easy thing. And it disturbs the established hierarchies and functional structures and creates serious repercussions, involves resistance among the workforce. Why resistance among the workforce? Because BPR changes everything, no? And whenever you are changing something, automatically your employees will resist it. That we have already discussed about strategic change. Whenever you are trying to bring about a change, the first thing that comes is resistance only. Resistance from the workforce. So you have to face that. And re-engineering involves time and expenditure. See, do you think that it is very easy to change a process? No, it takes a lot of time. You need to study the existing process, you need to redesign the process, and for the new process you need to take the help of IT, you need to make practicals of it, and you need to finalize it. And do you think that an organization is having only 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 processes? No. An organization will have hundreds of processes, and each and every process have to be modified, have to be re-engineered. So that takes a lot of time and energy. And when there is a transition between changing from old processes to new processes. In the transition period, you may lose efficiency and you may lose revenue also. And this quite often happens in every organization, because so far we are working in the old style and slowly we are trying to adopt the new style. So definitely it takes some time. A friction is created between old and new, and customers are greatly dissatisfied during this friction period, during this transition period, changing from old to new. See, once new is okay, once new becomes normal, it is okay. But the time gap between the old and new, the transitory period, is the most crucial one. And setting of targets is tricky and difficult. If targets are not properly set, the whole transformation not properly carried out, re-engineering efforts may turn out to be a failure. See, you should not go for very ambitious objectives. You should try to implement BPR in a systematic way. On the other hand, if you set very highly ambitious objectives and trying to bring massive change in the organization all at a time, instead of getting a better change, the situations may become worst. So that's why you need to be careful. And the next one is benchmarking. See, in the problems of BPR already we learnt. That is, BPR is a radical process and many companies do not have the courage to implement BPR. And BPR is a very dangerous one, very expensive one. But it is a very efficient one. If you know how to do it in a better way, and if you find the right consultant so that he offers you the right kind of guidance, BPR is the excellent tool to improve your processes. But all organizations cannot go for BPR because of their constraints, because of their limitations. Then, is there any other way to improve your business process except BPR? Yes, it is there. That is benchmarking. See, what is the actual general English meaning of the word benchmark? It is a standard. A benchmark is a standard. See, in every industry, certain organizations, they set some standards, they set some benchmarks. And the remaining firms in the industry, they try to take these firms as benchmarks and they try to improve their processes. So benchmarking is a kind of setting a role model and learning from the role model and try to implement it in your organization. And you should not get confused by understanding that benchmarking is nothing but copying the best practices or imitating the best practices of a role model. That is absolutely wrong. Benchmarking is not imitation. Benchmarking is not copying. Benchmarking is learning. There is a lot of difference between learning and copying. There is a lot of difference between imitation and inspiring. Here, in benchmarking, we talk about inspiring, getting inspired, trying to learn. Here we don't talk about copying, imitation. That is all nonsense. See, I am having a small retail store network of having 10 stores. And now I can take Walmart as a benchmark. Walmart is a very big thing, having more than 11,000 stores. But being a small player in the retail sector, I can take Walmart as a benchmark. But now you please tell me, can I imitate Walmart? Can I copy Walmart? How is it possible? What are my capabilities? What are the capabilities of Walmart? How can I copy? How can I imitate? See, borrowed clothes do not fit well. You should make your own best fits. But I should study why Walmart became successful. What processes the Walmart is doing. At our level, how can I do those things? What changes I have to make? In this way, I have to think. This is called the process of learning. This is not a blind imitation. This is not a blind verbatim copy. No, it's not copying. It's not imitating. It's not verbatim. It is learning. How can I improve my process? And to improve my process, there should be a role model. There should be a guide. There should be a goal post. So that is the benchmark here. And we will try to learn from them. And you can learn different things from different people. For example, I am having a retail store, a network of retail stores, and I like the HR practices of Infosys. See, Infosys is an IT company and I am in retail store. So how can I directly copy the HR practices of Infosys, which is an IT company? I cannot do it, but I can learn from it. I can learn what they are doing, in what way they are doing, and how far can we implement that in our organization, how far. In that way I can get inspired and learn. Likewise, I can take the distribution policies of Unilever and I can study how Unilever could able to distribute the goods, and what can I learn from Unilever. So this benchmarking is the process of learning the things and trying to improve my business processes. Okay, and this benchmarking compared to BPR is very easy, because in BPR there is no goalpost, there is no role model, there is nothing. You have to do everything on your own from the scratch, and that requires a lot of courage, investment, time, energy, everything. But whereas here you need not deconstruct anything, you need not rethink about anything, you just try to bring some incremental improvements in process by learning from the best industry practices which are set by some companies. See, in every industry there will be certain people who sets the benchmarks. So the dictionary defines a benchmark as a standard or a point of reference against which things may be compared and by which something can be measured or judged. That is the literal meaning of the word benchmark, where it is a point of reference, a standard, a point of reference which we can compare ourselves with that particular standard and try to know what are the gaps, what are the differences. And benchmarking is the process of identifying and learning from the best industry practices and the processes by which they are achieved. I am again stressing the word learning. It's not copying, it's not imitating. And it is developed out of the need to have information against which performances can be measured. See, whenever I am doing some work, I will have a doubt in my mind. Am I doing it perfectly? Am I up to the mark? How can I improve? These all doubts come into my mind. Now, how can I solve all these questions in my mind? So, if I have a benchmark, which is a standard measure of performance, now I can measure my performance with the benchmark. See, this is a kind of controlling. My performance is the actual performance and my benchmark's performance is the standard performance, and there is a gap between my performance and my benchmark's performance, and now I try to learn and try to go nearer to my benchmark so that my processes also improves, my organization also improves. Benchmarking is not a solution to all the problems. Rather, it studies the circumstances and processes that help in superior performance. Better processes are not merely copied. You cannot copy what your benchmark is doing. You can only learn. You can only get inspired and try to do it in your level. And efforts are made to learn, improve and evolve them to suit the organizational circumstances. This is the most important thing. What is suitable to your organizational circumstances? What your benchmark is doing, what your role model is doing, that is not suitable, that may not be suitable to you. But you have to think, how can I make that thing suitable to my circumstances? That is called as learning. Okay? And it is an approach of setting goals and measuring the productivity based on best industry practices. But don't think with benchmarking you can solve all the problems. It is not a panacea where it can solve all the problems. But definitely you can get some improvement in the process. It is a process of continuous improvement in search of competitive advantage. Yes, all the time I'll try to find out the benchmark and try to reduce the gap between myself and my benchmark. And benchmarking involves, I told you, comparing the different aspects of the firm's products, services, activities, processes and other aspects of performance with that of competitors or other leaders in the field. Sometimes your benchmark can be your rival also. Sometimes benchmark can be another person also. So you will just find out what they are doing and you will find out what you are doing. What they are doing, you take it as a standard. What you are doing is the actual. And now we have two things, your performance and your benchmark's performance. And now try to identify the gaps and deficiencies between these two. Always there will be a gap. And you just find out the new novel methods to reduce the gap. How can you reduce the gap between yourself and your benchmark? And try to implement those things so that you will go nearer to your benchmark. Okay. Now, sir, in what kind of areas I can go for benchmarking? That is your wish. But here we are giving a small list of things where you can go for benchmarking. If you want to develop your product, you select some company as a benchmark and do like that. If you want to know how to better utilize your firm in a better way, go for benchmarking. To maintain your business, go for benchmarking. For HRM, go for benchmarking. I have already told you, if you like Infosys HR, try to learn from them and try to adapt it in your organization. Product distribution, try to learn from Unilever. Customer services, try to learn from South Korean companies. Assessment of total manufacturing cost, try to learn from Japanese companies. So you can learn something from everyone and you can try to imbibe it in your organization through benchmarking process. And the next one, what are the elements or steps in the process of benchmarking? The steps are same like that of BPR. What is the first step? Identify the need for benchmarking and planning. Why benchmarking is required? What is the objective? What benefits you are expecting? First, you need to have that clarity. And the second one, clearly understand the existing business process. Without clearly understanding the existing business process, you cannot have any idea regarding the improvement. So first get the data, analyze the data, okay, talk to the customers, talk to the people, okay, and get the data and try to clearly understand the problems, the bottlenecks, the loopholes in the existing business processes and identify the best practices. Means who is best? For example, if you want to improve your HR process, who is best? If you want to improve your plant maintenance, who is best? So try to learn from the best practices of the industry and compare own processes and performance with that of others. Here others means your benchmarks, whom you have taken as your benchmark. In what way? Try to understand their performance, try to measure your performance and try to find out the gap and try to think of ways to reduce the gap between these two things and prepare a report and implement the steps necessary to close the performance gap. So once you find that there is a gap, so try to find out the reasons why there is a gap and what you can do to reduce the gap. You should prepare a report on that and you should try to work out on that report and you should try to implement those processes. And while you are implementing, you should always try to evaluate yourself. That means, are you progressing or not? Are you getting advantage or not? Are your processes are improving or not? And periodically you have to check out what your benchmarks are doing and what you are doing. And it is a continuous process. It is not a one-time process. Because your benchmarks also keep on changing their processes. And again you have to relearn. So learn, unlearn and relearn is the process. And this has to be done continuously. This is not a one-time activity. Okay. So these are the steps in the benchmarking process. So with that, we have finished the 8th lesson, strategy implementation and control. And also we finished the subject of strategic management. So keep in mind, please focus on similar questions and application oriented questions. Don't neglect them. Don't expect straight away questions. And regarding the keywords in strategic management, you have to revise them regularly on a daily basis. Only then you can remember them. So follow these tips, prepare well. All the best. Thank you.